For the birth, the camera audio is on.
Everything's on?
Nope, it's out.
Okay.
Dan, do you have an objection? Steve sitting next to you.
No, everybody ready? Okay, call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
President Burns,
Here.
Trustee Brenner. Here. Trustee Brickner. Here. Trustee Garland.
Here.
Trustee Poole.
Here.
Trustee Spencer.
Here.
Trustee Walter. The agenda was posted on Monday, May 10th at the Paddock Lake School Building, Community State Bank, and DMO Harrison.
Business tonight, I'd like to move to approve the previous meeting minutes from April 15th, 2021.
Second.
Any questions, any corrections, comments? None? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Brickner. Yes. Garland.
Yes.
Poole.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Walter. Yes. Burns.
Yeah. I'd like to move to suspend the rule of order for citizens to speak on agenda items after each committee report. Can I get a second? Second by Trustee Spencer. Madam Clerk, please come to the vote.
Brenner. Yes. Brickner. Yes. Garland.
Yes.
Poole.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Walter. Yes. Burns.
Yes. And under finance and administration, bills over 1,000 will be review. Just a note that back in March, we talked about Wisconsin buying some property from us for the enlargement of Highway 50. We did get them shut. I think everybody may have a copy. All right. Preliminary subdivision plat for Duckcon. This was presented to the Planning Commission on April 19th. It did pass. It's now under the village board for either conditional approval, satisfaction, or approval, or any revisions. So everybody's had a chance to look at this, I presume. Does everybody know where the property's at? Yes? Okay. Are there any questions from the board on the subdivision? No? Okay, so I'll assume that it's going to get approved next Wednesday. So there'll be a motion for that next Wednesday. Certified survey map. Again, on this, Planning Commission was presented with this back on April 19th. It did pass, so it's now on to the village board for approval. If indeed approved, then it gets recorded with the county. Any questions on the certified survey map? This is the property south of Walton. Any questions from the board? Yeah.
President Burns, I just had one clarification on the Plan Commission recommendations for the CSM. There was a comment that full DOT approval was required for the design of the intersection. And we're respectfully requesting that that full design will happen and be approved. But we'd ask that it's not a contingency of the CSM recording. We've spoken with the DOT and we've come up with the right amount of land for the public dedication, but the design of the design of the intersection is not completed, and we wouldn't want that to hold up the recording of the CSM.
Sure. And I think that was, you're referring to our engineer's letter, I believe was,
I'm not
Sure,
sure.
it was made part of the recommendations for us to do. And then in the staff report to the board, it's recommended that lag behind, as Kane has mentioned. The dedication of future right-of-way for the public road is in fact included on the CSM and will be referenced in the motion for the approval.
any questions of the board? Okay. Auditor's request for proposal. Back in March, we talked about having an actual contract for accounting, and then a contract for an auditor. And we gave permission to the administrator to seek out bids. We have 3 bids, I believe. Let's see if any other questions.
Okay, so I record.
Okay, so Kimber Rose turned in the lowest responsible bid of 22,000. Oh, my question is, since I don't have a copy of the RFP, was the RFP for 60 months? Was it a 5-year contract?
No, it was a single year contract.
Okay. I see all the bids were projected out 5 years.
Right. So
Was that referenced in the RFP?
it was, but this particular contract will be for the 2020 audit. And then we'll either do another RFP for next year's audit for 2021, or not unlike what we did with our auditor, our assessor, extend the existing contract. But there was.
And that, was that specified in the RFP? That's we're seeking bids for just fiscal year 2021.
The RFP was for this year's audit.
Okay.
Yes.
So they elected upon themselves to do a 5-year projection.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? No? Okay. I'll have a motion next Wednesday to approve that contract. All right, zoning and building fee schedule. Again, back in February, we talked about this, trying to condense all of our fees into one ordinance for the ease of, well, for one, our residents that want to seek out to find out what the permit fees are. Right now, they were scattered throughout the whole book of ordinances. The point of this is to make it more convenient to locate the associated fees with whatever the project may entail. Is there any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Trustee Poole?
Yeah, I noticed on the new schedule here for the, like a shed from 0 to 150 square feet, jump from $30 to $45, which is a 50% increase. And why was that?
Well, the amount of work that's involved with inspecting a shed is similar to what it would be for a garage. It's been woefully underpriced. Now, the entire fee schedule did not increase by 50%. In some areas, it was only up by 3%. But that's a glaring gap, as well as re-roofing. It's still required the inspection. Our costs, our overhead costs, our inspection fees, and so forth. And the fee for those two particular permits have not kept pace with inflation. That $30 fee was the same in 1990, I think 95. It should have been increased gradually over the course of many years. And as you see on that spreadsheet in comparison to other municipalities, it's in comparison to communities surrounding us.
Actually, on that same subject, I have in my notes back when we discussed this, that, 125 was suggested. I have the board agreed to 115.
And what specifically, what was that for?
This has to do with detached garage less than 600 square foot. And I have for detached garage over 600 square foot, it indicates 175. I have in my notes somewhere along the way 200 was discussed, and the board agreed that it'd be at 150. Now, if you go on to the actual ordinance that we're doing and creating, that actually has the old piece schedule on it, from what I can cite. So it's actually it's a good thing Christie brought that up, because I had a question concerning the same.
The detached garage in the ordinance, which has been amended, did raise that rate from $60 to $75, and for garages over 600 feet, went from 75 to 100.
I'm preparing my notes from March, what I got tonight. It's the same. We're talking 9.018.
9.018. Right. With the old fee schedule, let's see what that was.
I guess to trustee Ford's point, that was noticed in our initial meeting. The consensus was that the 125 was reduced to 115 and the 175 was reduced to 150. That's according to my notes.
You're correct, President Burns. That is the old fee schedule, so we will modify that before next week.
Okay.
And have that, so it'll be 115, is that what we said? Is what your note said?
115 for less than 600 square foot, 150 in excess of that less 600.
And we'll get that modified.
Okay, I noticed that there was also a discussion on making failure to call for an inspection or basically performing work prior to a permit, to making that uniform. However, I did see in here that this is on this is for ease of locating, it's on the last page of the ordinance. It's X permit fee stated herein shall be tripled if work is commenced before the permit fee is issued. If you triple the fees on what we talked about, it arrives at the same number. Those are the only, I think there was a couple things included in here that I didn't see in the ones now, which I think this is going to be under sub R, item 3, 4, and 5, all having to do with sewer inspection, change of sewer service. I mean, they were obviously in the ordinances somewhere, but I think they're just planted in this ordinance again to bring all these charges into one ordinance for convenience.
Correct.
Well, that's the only question I had pertaining to this. What about other trustees? Any questions? No other questions from the trustees? Okay, well, with the exception of what's been discussed tonight, we will have a motion to repeal and recreate the ordinance next month, or next week. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Committee reports, or committee assignments. Everybody got a new copy. As you can see, obviously we have 2 new trustees, so I assigned certain committees to those new trustees. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. That's trustee Poole.
You got my wife's phone number on here, not mine.
Oh, maybe we want to talk to your wife instead of you.
We'll get that corrected. We'll reach out to you tomorrow and get that number. Just so you know, this is an inter-office document with your numbers on there. Not
Oh, sure.
under public records request. Somebody can get that, but it's not on our website. It's not. This is for our use. So we'll get that corrected.
Anybody wants to know how to get a hold of me, call the office, you'll get my voicemail, and he'll tell you how to get a hold of me. I'm not shy if somebody wants to talk to me. Okay, so is there any questions on the assignment? Yes, no, doesn't sound like there is. Okay, so we'll have a motion to accept those next Wednesday. So that's all I have for finance and administration. Turn it forward to trustee Spencer. Works?
Mike, want to get that?
Sure. So the west side water main activation has been going smoothly. Right now, the water main between County F and Whitetail Ridge is connected. There's a loop there. So that is in operation. We assisted with some exhibits for the TID area edition. The village collected information on the force main that crosses Highway 50 near 248. So provided that information to DOT. At this point, we're still waiting for DOT to come back with their revised plans for all those utility adjustments along Highway 50. Duck Pond, we reviewed the preliminary plat on that. We talked about earlier. Whitetail Ridge is in the middle of the earthwork construction, building the roads, building the building pads, the drainage system. That's been progressing. The Village Hall water main here is virtually done. There's a little bit of touch-up paint to do. That's about it. And then all the closeout documentation that's needed for USDA is to be done yet. And then the 2021 street improvement project, we're awaiting contracts back from Payne and Building. My report.
Next one, you'll see there's a final payment for Payne and Dolan for $10,864.44. This is for projects that were completed, that were just finished now, but this comes from 2019 street and road project improvement plan. Anybody got a question on that one?
About time.
Okay.
Next one is we got a final payment request for Houston Excavating installing the water reduction valve for $3,172.24. Any questions on that one? This one, got a little issue down by the plant. One of our roofs that we thought would last a little longer is in need of roof repair. Has various leaks in it. So we'd like to bring to motion for $26,470 to replace the roof. Any questions on that?
Yeah, one. And maybe I'm analyzing this wrong. On the proposed acceptance of Dick's roofing, my proposal, it indicates a 15-year warranty. And then it's got asterisks to, no asterisks in the proposal, but 5-year workmanship warranty and 10-year manufacturing warranty. Is that where they're coming up with their 15? Or what's
No,
15 on?
15 years is on the entire project. It's totally total. So it's 10 years on the product, on the HDMP rubber roofing. And they extend that to a full 15 years, 5 years on their workmanship. It did have a 15-year warranty on it.
Just so it's apples to apples. The other two spell out 15-year labor and material warranty. This is kind of a peak in how they're doing it. As long as we specify that it's a 15-year warranty on materials and labor. Unless I'm reading this wrong. I just want to make sure that we're getting.
And I can have that answer for you before. Not everyone is as detailed and has, as far as quotes go. I think what we're seeing in the other two quotes are a very elaborate software that produces the quote. Where I think it's likely not the case with Dick's roofing, but I will confirm that and have that back to you before you vote on it next week.
I would greatly appreciate it.
Our next one will be for a utility cyber firewall for our utility systems down there. And our system had been tested and it's hackable. So this is a recommendation from who recommended this?
Allen ICS is our software for our SCADA system, our IT company for our SCADA system. Not to be confused with Platinum, who does our desktop. Our server here is what it's called. Different name.
Anybody had any question on firewall?
I just have a comment. You know, it's an unfortunate world that we live in that we have to do this. But it is what it is. And nothing is even more relevant to this topic than what happened with the pipeline on the East Coast. I mean, just, you know, hackers got in there and, you know, the whole East Coast did without fuel, and we all found out that all of a sudden it was 1973 again.
It's a very good point, President Burns, and it was the exact same wormhole that they got into that SCADA system as would happen with us.
I didn't really want to hear that, but okay. I think that when we initially talked about this, we still hadn't verified with Allen ICS that there wasn't a way into the mousetrap. So now that we know, I think this is the best use of money. That's come along.
This is a reimbursable expense through the new CARES Act. So we will certainly.
That's another wonderful thing.
Yep, and it's specific to our sewer SCADA, not our water SCADA. Water SCADA computer system is new enough that it has the appropriate firewall. It's for the sewer plant.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Next you'll see is nicely deeper in the build over 1,000. We got the hydraulic services in Spring Grove. A couple of cylinders on our backhoe when it started to leak, they needed to be taken out. They were repacked instead of purchasing new, which saved the village thousands of dollars. Also, we had a hydraulic tank replaced. So you'll see just over $8,500 and bills over $1,000 for the repack of the cylinders and the hydraulic tank replacement. And then we have an amended motion to pay for the final payment of the pressure reduction valve that we just had installed. Anybody have any questions on the valve?
Both the invoices from hydraulic services and those are account.
That's correct.
Just to give everybody a heads up, Mr. Pat and I are working diligently on a astronomical expense as it's been presented on yet one of other trucks.
Oh, yeah.
So we got our heads together. We're making them work for whatever money we're going to do. So more on that. Hopefully we can identify what the problem is. Okay. That's all you got. All right. Thank you, Chris. All right, judiciary license, actually, because committee assignments haven't been voted on, as much as I'd like to have it for already trustee, I'll have to pro temp on this and send the tree commission. I have to take that one. All right. The court report, I'll trustee Brickner will discuss that next Wednesday. Now, you've got a liquor license for La Cabana, and then we got operator licenses for La Cabana as well. I assume the operator licenses are new operator licenses?
Correct.
Okay. And I didn't get the paperwork on it, but background checks were fine?
Yes.
Okay. So there doesn't appear to be any issue with number 3. Now, number 2, however, all right, there's a lot of reference in my material here to is Bertha, what is it? Benitez, thank you. Oh, you're here, good. Excellent. All right, Ms. Benitez. What I do have is I have your alcohol beverage retail license application. Now, if I were a school teacher and I was grading a test and I had all these empty spots, you wouldn't pass the test. Same goes with these. So,
When I saw the paperwork, they checked it for me, they said it was fine.
well, I specifically have a question concerning number 8. Does any alcohol beverage retail licensee or wholesale community have any interest or any control of this business? If yes, explain. You marked yes. You didn't explain. So I would ask that, you at least do that. And then forgive me, I don't know what 9C says. The question being asked is, does the corporation or any officer, director, stockholder, or agent, or limited liability company of any member, manager, or agent hold any interest or any other alcohol beverage license or permitted in Wisconsin? Get yes. If yes, explain. That says Los Compadres Mexican Restaurant, Wisconsin, and then something referring to Illinois.
Yeah, I have another restaurant in Burlington and I have another one in Illinois.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, so the request is for a new license. I believe well, there was a question from one of our trustees is how this is registered.
Excuse me, I didn't give this.
What is this? All right, well, what I was handed is, this is a conditional surrender of license. Caesar James, hereby conditionally surrenders the alcohol license issued to me on the premise of 24231 District. I'd like to allow a license to be issued by the village to Bertha Benitez as agent for the purchaser of that business executed May 11th, 2021. And it's signed. Okay. Here's my question, and I think this is to get to the root of the problem. You were sold the business, correct?
Yes.
So did the past owner close the business?
No, he didn't actually, he got very sick, so we just kind of took over, and then that's why everything was just like, it was crazy when, you know, we were just gonna help him out, but then he was hospitalized and stuff, so we decided to take over the business. So we made a deal, and that was one of the deals, that he would make sure that we get the liquor license.
Well, if he's closed the business and so
He didn't actually close the business.
who owns the business?
Pedro Jaime.
Owns currently the business?
Not anymore, now we.
Okay, then he doesn't,
Yeah, no,
So
not
he
anymore.
doesn't own the business.
No, he's not, no longer.
okay. So he doesn't own the business, which is safe to say that he sold the business lock, stock, and barrel to you?
Mhm.
Okay, so you're a new business, so, question for council, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a new business, so everything's new. You're you're applying for a new license. I think the question, getting back to the question that was originally asked, is you've got yourself down as a corporation, and you've got yourself listed as everybody. And when I say everybody, all the, all the controlling members, secretary, treasurer. How do you have yourself listed with WBOR?
I have to. But my accountant, the lawyer is still working on all of that, because like I said, the way everything was done, it was like, he got sick and we took over, and so they actually still finish up stuff. I know that he's doing all that for me still. I'm not sure exactly. I can find out tomorrow and let you know, but on the top of my head, I don't know what.
All right, here's a question. Like, as I went through.
I think I had that too.
When you opened your checking account for the business,
Yes. Mhm.
how did you list your business? with
That's the
bank?
thing, when I talked to my processor for the credit cards, what he said is that I needed to get a new number, and we did it. So the account was taking care of that, and he did talk to them. I'm sorry if I sound like I don't want to, but all those names get me confused. English is my second language, so sometimes it's like I have to.
FIEN number.
Yeah, my FAE number, yeah, I do, I have the right one, I actually have to cancel the other one because they said I need a new one because I took over the corporation. So they said, no, you don't need a new one, you have to use that one, the same. I did switch the bank account, a different number, but I was able to use everything the same.
Well, I mean, that's, your federal employee identification number, that's, you have employees, so you obviously. need
Yes.
one. Whether that's transferable, that's news to me, but,
Yeah, they said, yeah, they didn't have to.
I don't know that that's a condition of what we're discussing tonight. And the reason I asked you about the bank account is because, banks are subject to Homeland Security Act, so they're very particular of how these businesses are listed and who owns them.
Yeah,
So how's it listed with the bank?
it's the same, La Cabaña.
Now, how's it listed? Is it listed as a sole? It seems like this is a sole proprietorship.
No, it's a corporation.
So who's the president of the
Me.
corporation?
I'm
But
everything.
before it was Paddock, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So and I think what President Burns is attempting to getting at, is that the business in La Cabana being owned by Paddock, and all his licensing and registration with the Department of Revenue and bank and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, it can't transfer to another person.
You
It's got to
can't
be
transfer
whole
to another
incorporation. So,
Yeah, so basically, Pepe has closed the business. He needs to go through all the proper documentation to close the
Which we
business.
did, we did this with a lawyer.
And then now you're the new owner of the business.
Yeah.
So now you have to do everything new, just as if there wasn't a La Cabana before you chose to have a La Cabana. So it's a whole new business.
essentially, this is La Cabana too. And you would be all the individuals on title for licensing, federal employee identification number, state tax number, all those things would be under the new corporate, correct, Chuck?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, for our purposes, for village purposes, the actual structure of the business is kind of immaterial. It's the fact that the business exists and they're seeking an application for a liquor license. Is that correct?
It's
Yeah.
essentially seeking a new.
That's correct. But I'd like to, I did not see the application. I didn't see anything. And I had a conversation with myself at probably 2:30 this afternoon. And she hadn't seen anything. So from that, I surmised that not only was there no application in at this point, and she specifically said there was no surrender affidavit at that point. But I assumed that at least up until late this afternoon, there was no application fee. And if there's no application fee, you could not publish. There's a 15-day waiting period before you can have a public hearing on a new application, 15 days following publication. So I don't see if there's any other course of action other than to anticipate tabling this next Wednesday. In the meantime, the applicant can get things figured out. And background checks can be done on the individual offices of the corporation.
But why didn't they say anything to me when because I'm like, without, makes much, any restaurant without.
Well, I think from what I understand, they gave you the application was partially filled out. I think what Jeff is indicating is that we had an issue with our scanner, so he may not have got a copy of it. But there was an application filed. I think the biggest issue here is that I think your intent, right, wrong, or indifferent, was to assume the management and operation of a establishment that serves alcohol that is licensed to a specific individual that's no longer involved. Going forward, you have to be that individual, essentially replacing Pepe. And I think some of the things maybe fall through the cracks. I think so the bigger extent here is that our staff was more inclined to work with making sure that the taxes were paid, that the back sewer, utility bills, and so forth were paid before anything proceeded forward. And up until recently, we were under the impression that Pepe was still going to be the controlling factor, and that it was just going to be servers, licensed servers working for them. And it's only recently that we're finding out that you're going to take the full operation,
Yeah,
and Pepe is going to step away from the operation. And that may be where some of the confusion comes from. But we'll,
which I took care of everything.
Mhm.
I mean, she can tell you, I paid everything because I want him a license.
well, I realize that, but I think what has happened is that he had relinquished business, correct? Is that what you're saying, President Burns? He had not relinquished the license?
What I'm surmising here is that, as the Administrator Planda had pointed out, the assumption was because Pepe didn't want to continue the business and you were willing to, then everything just went status quo and you could use everything that he applied for and vice versa, which doesn't work that way. He
No,
closed it.
I know that.
Okay, let me. So you closed, he rather closed the business and surrendered it over to you. Now you're the new you are a new business, new owner. So you have to start from scratch as a new owner, make sure all your paperwork is correct with Wisconsin Department of Revenue, the IRS, and apply for the license as a new applicant, which you, I'll say, started. I still ask you that if you're gonna say yes to a question, it says explain. If you say yes, that you explain. That's what it's asking. So I would ask that you go through that application and make sure it's filled in correctly. The fact that staff received it, don't receive anything that you give them. They're not grading your paperwork when you turn it in.
No, but if you have a question, I did ask, what else do I need? I mean, I think I should have been told, you gotta think better.
Well, again, if you hand this in, I'm not gonna grade it right there. I mean, you need an application, so you were.
So if I don't understand a question and I need help, I can ask somebody in the office, like.
Well, you can, and we'll get to that point.
No, we're not trying to put up barriers for you to go into business. We just, you have to follow the sequence of events just like every other business
That's why I got
in the state of Wisconsin.
And maybe that's something that our attorney could work to explain to you, no? Oh, but if you have any questions.
Oh, yeah.
That's you, not. That's what I meant.
But we just can't give it our legal advice.
No. And to some extent, that's what's happening here. So just to clarify this, is that application, as President Burns has indicated, was turned in only after the application was in our hands, and we were essentially just Monday is when it was found out that the Department of, what's the acronym for the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco and Enforcement? ATE, not ATF, ATE. That's the Wisconsin Bureau. They contacted our clerk and indicated that they were the first to notify us that the federal tax stamp, federal employee licensure, right, federal FEIN was not correct in the application. So that has, from the time you turn that in until we're here, a lot has transpired involving the state of Wisconsin Alcohol, Tobacco, and Enforcement Bureau. And they're the ones that pointed out that the paperwork or that everything wasn't in order to proceed forward.
Okay, so again, in moving this ball down the court here, I would request that the license application be completed as it's asked to be completed. The application fee has been paid, correct? Marla?
I don't think the application fee is complete.
Okay, well, until the application fee is
I'm not sure.
paid, essentially, this is a non-starter. So that has to be paid. Then when that is paid, then it'll be a new business. So as Attorney Davidson has pointed out, we will have to have a public hearing for that purpose. And then there's a state statute which indicates it's a 15-day grace period between the two procedures happening, the public hearing and then the approval of the license. So there's still some time, unfortunately, that it's mandated by state statute. It's not mandated by the village of Paddock Lake. As far as the operator's license, well, you got nothing to sell. So, I don't know if it's even necessary to move forward until we get this whole thing straightened out. If, however, because the Hernandez and Emmanuel Benitez because those server licenses go with those individuals. We can still, assuming background checks are clear, and we can still move forward with that. But if they're working for you and you don't have a license to serve alcohol, where you at?
Except that those licenses are going to be
If they go somewhere else, yeah, if they go somewhere else. So
Yeah.
the employee in this case has the leverage.
Yeah.
They can go wherever they want. I mean, we can move forward and do that next month.
Is that next month?
That's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday for the operators.
For the server license.
Okay.
Well, let's plan on yourself, Michelle, Marla, and myself meeting sometime this week. Discussing where we are, what we need to move forward with. Bring
I
what
said, but you
paperwork.
have to say something to me after that, because I didn't, please call me, what do I?
What, as you heard, it's really not their responsibility.
No, but as someone with human beings, I think it should have, I think, but we need to, not do it for me, I would have done it. If this is things that-
So we'll talk, we'll meet, and we'll talk, and you feel the way fast.
Okay. All right. Police and fire, trustee Wall.
We can fire, of course, I will have next week. We have a resident request to temporarily bring the voting late 8 hours. We're just gonna turn it over to Tim. Is there anybody here for that?
And I can just give a brief, Mr. Borman has an opportunity, him and his son, I guess there's a couple kids, maybe some other children or young adults from our area that have an opportunity to be coached by a premier ski coach, a barefoot ski coach. And it's a golden opportunity for young men. They've chosen our lake primarily because they live on it, the individuals that are doing this. It's for 5 days. It's 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, 1 week. And it's 2 hours grace on this request. So from 8 o'clock till sunset, and our current ordinance is 10 o'clock to sunset, later on Tuesday, essentially sunset. So essentially they're asking for 2 hours for specific barefoot training from this coach for a 1 week period in June 14th to June 18th. And as you see, there is a provision for this type of activity with the board's permission. If you feel comfortable with safety precautions and notice, and luckily we do have enough time to notice the majority of people on the lake and or the public that there will be a training on the lake in the early morning. So.
Yeah, I'm certainly available for any more questions. As Mr. Van has pointed out, this coach is actually from New Zealand. He lives in Florida. He trains barefoot water skiing. Those of you that reference the letters can Google his name and see it's unbelievable. My son is a competitive barefoot water skier. He placed 10th in the world competition, which happened virtually actually last year because of all the things we're facing, and continuing to train to be a barefoot water skier. There's several other people, as Tim pointed out, that are from the area. I'm also on the Aquanaut water show team in Twin Lakes. So we have a group of kids and adults that want to train with Ben while he's here for the week. So my house will be the training grounds for that week. And really the goal here is we have to have really calm water. If you can imagine skiing on your barefoot, there's not a lot of room for air if a big wave comes up. So having those hours in the morning and then again some of the hours in the evening that aren't sunset currently, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, moving those to sunset, this expands our opportunity to get that calm water for this.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And a great guy, actually a good friend of mine. He's a really great guy. So
If I could just make one more, and I'm sure Dan lives on the lake, and there's several people here live on the lake. Early in the morning, and I noticed this morning when I was leaving the town at 6:30, then throughout my travels for inspections near or by the lake, up until about 8:30, from 6:30 to 8:30, it's like a piece of glass. It's just as smooth as can be. 8:30, 9 o'clock, it starts getting a little choppy, and I think it has something to do with the sun getting above the tree line. So, you know, it would be a benefit to these young men to have a nice smooth day.
Aside from the training, I would also reach out to Kenosha News. It's kind of a cool opportunity to highlight the village and what we're going to do with some rolling on skiers here.
Are these broken up hours, like increments? Starts at 8 o'clock, what time does the train, like, does the train go from 8 to 10 and then pause and
We're
then
going to
start
rotate
another time?
people through. So usually we go out in groups of 4 and every skier rotates throughout from like 8 till about 11. We take a break for lunch and go and ski in the afternoon as well. Because we're on a public lake here, we may have to alter that based on the boat traffic or things like that. So I anticipate really using the from 8 to noon especially, and then probably in the afternoon toward sunset, as Tim pointed out, as the sun goes down, the wind lies down too, and makes it calmer.
Here's my other question for you. When we get complaints about weeds not being picked up, will this affect?
It should not affect the Friday pickup. The one thing that we are going to have to talk about when the operation or when the board approves this is that we'll have to coordinate with our weed harvester to stay away from boating or the water skiing. That thing makes a lot of waves because it's a paddle instead of the prop. But I'm sure that can be worked out. And you're right, Friday, they're inside the buoys. Pick up the seaweed, it should be having an effect on there.
Will we be posting anything?
We'll do the best we can. You know, as far as, I know, Mr. Borman made reference to a newspaper from Kenosha, but we would definitely ask that the organization that's doing this, work with West of the Eye. It seems that our residents need West of the Eye, and then PHLA's Facebook, our website. I think we can get the message out clearly to the, and we'll post something out of the quote line.
And I'm willing to assist in that in any way, shape, or form as necessary to remove some onus from the village for doing that. We understand it's a public lake, so you know I'm certainly not asking to use the lake for my own use. It's going to be opened up for all use. We're obviously taking somewhat of a gamble, so to say, that there won't be a lot of boat traffic on 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, which usually there isn't. You know.
Good thing I'm an early bird.
Any other questions from the trustees on this? I just, yeah, I got a couple I gotta rotate in my mind so that, because you pointed out, Mr. Warner, it's a public lake. You don't want to dispel that a public lake is being utilized for private gain or private venture. There's other people that will be participating in this and essentially learning from this gentleman.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, as a member of the Aquanauts, we have a lot of young skiers that are looking for training opportunities. Some live right here in town, some are from surrounding towns. And I would suggest that, you know, in the notification to the public about what's going on, really the aspect of what I'm doing is really irrelevant. My suggestion would be that we post that the lake this week is going to have special lake hours from 8 a.m. to sunset, and be that as it may. It doesn't have to be really advertised or what we're doing. Anybody can be out there doing anything.
I almost don't want it posted because then you're going to get outside sources that are going to see that, oh, Paddock Lake has no wait this week starting at 8 o'clock. And then that kind of defeats, they could defeat your purpose.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but in the interest of the board and the committee here and the public, you know.
Self-preservation. The first time somebody's out at 8 o'clock tooling around the lake, we will get every call starting from whichever direction they're coming from, wherever they're at. So we, at minimum, I like your idea, at minimum, there will be a revision to the no wake hours. It'll be from 8 o'clock to sunset, June 14th to the 18th. That's the way I think we get it out there, not specific that Mr. Dan Borman is having an exhibition on the lake or doing anything specific. You know, we're talking about juveniles too. We don't want to draw that much attention to kids, but at least let the public know that for whatever reason, 8 to noon or 8 to sunset, there will be wait. If that suits the board.
I don't know, I'm a little torn on the issue of letting them have the lake for the entire week, because God knows, I know, they're gonna come knocking on our door. We're, maybe in the morning hours, I feel more comfortable in the morning hours, but as soon as those kayakers get out there, as the paddleboarders get out there, and they like going out there after, they're gonna come straight knocking on my door. And I know he doesn't want his name advertised, but I'm gonna put him at his house. And, you know, it's no different than even the weed harvester, once the weed harvester's not running, they're gonna come knocking, they're gonna call, and they're gonna say, why? And
You're gonna point.
we're gonna
Mr.
point right
You're
over
gonna
there.
point to Mr. Foreman's house, and Mr.
And,
Foreman's
I mean-
gonna say, the board approved it.
So, I mean.
And they're gonna come right back to you.
I understand it's a great opportunity and all, but, you know, it's tough. Because we're closing the lake, we're opening the lake up, but we're also segregating a huge portion of our population that uses that lake during those hours.
Well, respectfully, I hide no aspect of the fact that I have been a proponent to extend the wake hours on a larger scale over the past year or so, as I've attended more meetings and been more involved. I know that's been tabled to a survey that's supposed to go out next year or something like that. But this may be an opportunity to kind of test that water to see what response we get. I agree, there may be some notification hurdles to overcome. People are gonna not know, not see, or not be aware. But, you know, I'm not asking for weekends, I'm not asking for, you know, other aspects. Usually during the working day, there is no one on the lake. And it's really that 8 to 10 o'clock in the morning that's really the prime time that I would like to be out there.
I'm open to giving to you in the morning. And it's the afternoon, the sunset hour, when people come home from work,
Okay.
and they want to get on their little kayak and go out there, they're not gonna want to go come by them.
What if I revise my request just from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, Monday through Friday? The ending hours remain the same as they are for ordinance.
Okay. First, Trustee Spencer Trustee Spencer and Trustee Garland hit out two things, but because Trustee Spencer's comment is fresh in my mind. Is this to use the entire lake?
Well, barefoot water skiing requires speeds of like 40 miles an hour. So the lake is pretty small, pretty fast going at that speed. So we're going to find an area that has no wind and run that, you know, area repeatedly to keep that calm water. So Paddock Lake isn't big enough to say, well, why don't you stay over there or stay over here? You know, it's pretty small, pretty fast at those speeds.
I think the answer to my question would be yes.
Well, it's one boat though, Mr. Burns.
Yeah, I know, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so, so my question is that, you know, and we all know perception is reality. The hours you're asking for are kind of paramount to a subgroup that like the fish and like the kayak, because of the same reason that you're looking to.
Certainly, we all enjoy the lake differently.
So, you know, is that going to upset the balance for that subsegment to be able to utilize the lake? And that's why my original question was, is your intention to utilize the entire lake?
Well, I can offer the, you know, the reasonable courtesy of anyone. If there was a kayak, we're not going to be going as close to them as if possible. We're gonna just stay away from them. But I go back to the argument I made, last year. Kayakers can use the lake when I cannot. Right? They can be out kayaking at any time of the day where my hours are restricted when I can make a wake. So in some sense, there's, I don't want to say a double standard, but there's a difference. It's not that we can all enjoy that together. I'm already limited.
But wouldn't you agree that the seasoned kayaker or seasoned fisherman is going to already identify the optimal times to their benefit to use the lake? So,
I can't speak for those people. That's not my.
Well, I'm just, what I'm getting at is, there's an optimal time for that type of recreation, and they know when that is, and that's typically the early morning. Now, I'm neither of those, I'll go on the record as saying that, but again, we have to think of everybody that uses the lake, not give the perception, again, perception can often be reality.
Yes, sir.
Not the perception that we're gonna allocate the public asset, a public lake for a private venture.
Well, if I may correct you, sir.
Sure.
I'm not asking for the private use of the lake by my own person. I am asking that the wake hours be open for all boats for that same time period.
Well, okay, so if that's the case, then are we not isolating out a subsegment of lake use?
Well, again, they can be out kayaking during those hours. I'm not isolating them. I kind of equate it similar to having a parade, right? We're going to close off roads, maybe even worse of an example, right? Because now I'm limited these residents at certain times where they cannot use this roadway or whatever. I'm saying we can still all use this road or this lake, but we're all going to do something different. You're going to kayak, I'm going to use my power boat. But again, we're one boat. And again, just to repeat, we're talking Monday through Friday. We're not talking about a Saturday or a nice quiet Sunday morning. I know there's some aspects of the lake that we all enjoy. These are working hours when most people are going to be already at work.
And I'm believing, I'm trying to assist you.
Absolutely.
It's just, I'm trying to work through all these aspects, because as Trustee Spencer pointed out, we're the first ones that hear about it. And we have to have answers to those people when they say, well, why did you do this? Why are you letting this guy go out? I want to fish, I want to, whatever. I mean, I can see it, I can see it already, but yes.
People, we keep talking about the lake, but if you advertise that and we've extended these hours for this week only, your kayakers and fishermen, we forget about the channel. I mean, if you really are diehard to go get your exercise in your kayak, go around the channel if you know that there's going to be a boat.
Well, and I'm glad you pointed it out. So there's what you're saying. There's an outlet to.
There's still from somewhere else to the no wait 2 weeks. This is not augmenting any of the existing rules. It's still counterclockwise. It's just those 2 hours. It was, 2 hours plus sunset. Mr. Norman has asked that request be amended to 2 hours in the morning. But yeah, inside the slow no wait, stand up paddle boards or kayaks or fishermen. And the channel is still their use in that 2 hour period or any time.
I got one other thing just to play devil's advocate. We're talking 8 a.m. to sunset during these 5 days. And we're talking open those hours to all boats. Now granted, this is just 1 week, but we do have a lot of wakeboard boats on this lake. And as we kind of talked about last year, we have areas of the lake that is dealing with erosion because of these wakeboard boats. Again, I understand this is just for 1 week, but we've got a lot of boats out there, and this is, you're just opening it up for potentially, you know, more
Is that the
issues.
kind of bow that's on this boat?
No, sir, this wake that my boat throws is specially designed for.
And I'm not saying your specific boat.
I'm
talking about,
asking,
yeah.
Mr. question.
Yeah.
My boat throws almost no wake, it's a specially designed boat for exactly this purpose.
And all I'm trying to do is clarify. Trustee Brown.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's gonna be open for everybody this entire time, you know, for this week, for all these hours, where it may impact some of the areas that are desperate need of
Well,
help from the erosion that's happening.
respectfully, Commissioner Gardner, I apologize, Gardner. The water levels are certainly monitored, and the lake is closed when water levels exceed certain heights to avoid the exact problem that you referenced. I, as a reasonable person, have a hard time grasping the idea that a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the evening are going to make a measurable, if even noticeable difference in shoreline erosion, as you referenced.
Like I said, I understand it's only for a week, but it's still happening. It's still happening. It's a battle that at least residents on the west side of the lake are fighting.
All right, if this is going to be permitted by the board, are we gonna reference 15.12? Okay, so 15.12, for those who don't know, okay? It's in our ordinance. Our ordinance is a long ordinance concerning use of the lake. One, you know, you kind of skip down, one refers to another section, and you keep skipping down. So what it comes down to is races, regattas, sporting events, and exhibitions. Okay, this is not a race, this is not a regatta, and this isn't a sporting event, but it is an exhibition. In a gray word, it's an exhibition. So, with that being said, so if it falls under one of those four, then it's got a permit required, and then you have to have a plan and marker. It says markers, flags, buoys, approved by the Water Safety Patrol. And, you know, I'm gonna move this thing along. I'm gonna have you get with Administrator Papiano on what the ordinance says, what we need from you. And again, this is so we can answer questions, because we're gonna get them.
Well, if I may,
Yep.
my letter already explains all the items that you've asked.
And we'll get to it.
Now, that's why I say.
We'll get water patrol chief to,
So, just so I understand, is this,
we're getting.
so we're tabling this decision?
No, we're not tabling
They don't
it.
vote on anything tonight.
Okay.
It's all discussed in committee before next Wednesday. We'll get this squared away and have it presented to the board before next Wednesday. So you and I gotta work fast tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
To get our water patrol chief to sign off on this. Yep. I'll be first thing in the morning, for sure.
No problem.
One last concern. This exhibition in no way, absolutely no way infringe on harvest operations, because if it does, yeah, thank you. We hear enough about that in Lake District meetings.
I've been to those meetings, I certainly understand.
Yeah, so, okay, you've been there, you know.
Yep, I do.
So that's the last thing we're gonna have thrown in our face in August.
We talked with our lead operator. He feels comfortable that he can stay away. First of all, probably don't start till about 7:30 with the pre-move and everything, maybe 7:45. So they'll be out possibly working in the channel right away while you're water skiing and work their way out. And he feels that as long as he can do between the lake edge and the 100-foot no wake zone, he'll be fine for those few hours in the morning. And now it's even better now that you're saying that you're only asking for starting at 8 o'clock, 8 to 10. So there's 2 hours difference. Otherwise, it's the same thing that he deals with all the time. People,
Well, right,
Oh,
but again, that is such a major concern with our particular lake. And we can't let what you wish to do infringe upon that, because then there's a direct correlation. What you're doing is affecting.
I totally understand. I think we've already pointed out that's not an issue.
Sure. Okay, so what we've decided then is this is gonna be from 8 to 10, kind of an exclusivity issue for that purpose. And that, you know, you're gonna get with Administrator Papan to get all the details ironed out for us next Wednesday, so we can take a vote on it. Is that pretty much?
That's what I understand. I didn't quite get a definitive answer. We do have to get something out to the public that there will be waves between 8 and 10, or there haven't been before. So. No, absolutely.
Going off of 15.12, and we issue a permit for this addition, it's actually just on the deed for East Warren. But putting it out away from the lake is wrong. It would actually be that permit pulled. If I read this right, subsection B says the permit is issued under this section shall be specified the course and area of the water to be used by the participants and require the permittee to place markers, flags, and buoys approved by the chief of water control. So if we're going to consider 15-12, it's just going to be a permit from Mr. Foreman. So we can't actually put it out there that the lake is open to everyone. Because that's not what the ordinance says. So if we go off of it, I could be wrong. But
I'm not saying that we're alerting the public that it's open under his permits. I'm saying we have to let the public know between 8, somebody could be out there unexpecting, paddling in the middle of the lake or across the lake, and all of a sudden, I mean, there could be an accident.
well, no, I
want to let the public know that something's different, and that is from 8 to 10, there will be a wave. Not saying come one, come all, and join the Borman family barefooting.
Although if anybody's interested, I'm happy to meet.
But I just putting it out there.
Yeah.
If we're going off that order.
And I see where you're coming from. Maybe we dial it back to let the public know that this is happening, but not specifically that it's not the invitation to invite. Yeah. Right.
I may have asked this, you know, and you have to forgive me if I did. There's no fees being charged.
No.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I appreciate your time. I have a lengthy discussion, but I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We have traffic streets in the village, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott.
Just wanted to take a couple minutes and talk about some of the issues that residents keep coming to me with regarding the speeding throughout the village. I know we discussed it last year, and it continues to be an issue, even more of an issue now. Some of the areas that it's been on social media, and other residents that have come and talked to me in the areas of 63rd Street, 61st Street, and 240th Avenue, 61st Street and 241st Avenue, 72nd Street. We've got cars that are just, they seem to just be flying through our streets. We have stopping issues. I'm constantly, outside yelling at cars that are not stopping at my little intersection. I don't know what the issue is, but people just don't stop. I've had residents that have talked to me about police being called on them because they have yelled at vehicles to slow down. One of the things that I'm hearing is, and I'm not by any means saying anything negative about law enforcement because I'm pro police, but one of the things that I am hearing is the residents would like to see more of a law enforcement presence during more hectic hours, like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then again from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. where there's more of a heavy flow going through the village. I don't know if any of my fellow trustees are getting complaints or concerns from residents, but I seem to be getting them quite a bit. I know we've had a couple of residents that have spoken to law enforcement, giving them permission to sit in their driveways to no avail. Two of them, in fact, over by Anita's house, two residents that have offered that up. Jameson over here, he's offered that up. We've got residents that are talking to me about being willing to pay out of their own pocket for stop signs, which I know we can't do, but something's got to give. I know that our law enforcement around here is limited, which means I feel that we as a board and as a village need to do something to step up and help the law enforcement out. I would like to see the speed limit reduced throughout the entire village, other than 236th Avenue and 248th Avenue from 25 to 15. I know that we've got little pockets throughout the village where it's 15, but I would like to see all the roads down to 15. Will that help? I don't know, but something's got to give. Trustee Brenner, I don't know if you can speak on behalf of the Hooker Lake side.
We really haven't had any problems, but you gotta remember, the hill goes down to the lake, just like that. I don't see any racing, I don't see anything like that on my side of the lake at all. I'd say something if I had to. I'd probably run out there and bring my head off.
Well,
It hasn't happened.
That seems to be happening,
Yeah,
from
I'm
what I'm
sorry.
hearing, that seems to be happening quite a bit over on
Well,
this
I can
side.
see it on the other side.
I know from the discussion that we had last year, you can't just put stop signs. There has to be reports and whatnot done. But I don't know, the residents that I'm hearing from don't want to hear that anymore. They just want something done. They want to feel like they're being heard. And the sense that I'm getting is, and I've even seen it, is why should we talk to the village when they're not going to do anything anyway? And being an elected official, I fall into that generalization of the village. And the reality is I am on their side regarding the way people are driving through this community. So I would love to hear from some of the other trustees, their thoughts. I don't know what can be done, if anything, but or if Jameson I'm not putting you on the spot, but if you want to say anything, because he did reach out to me, I would love to hear other thoughts.
Just one thing I'd like to ask you, if we could give the sheriff's department, and we know they love Highway 50 and back of the high school parking lot, but they need to be patrolling our streets, and ask them that there's plenty of officers that are sitting on Highway 50, but, and I will say that about 10 a.m. we get one over by Macalone Park. That's about the only place I see it. Or get report of any village resident that they see officers roaming our streets. And I mean, we as residents pay for it. And I guess we need to ask the sheriff's department that they start rolling our streets. And, you know, they should be patrolling the village streets and the Hooker Lake side and stay off of 50 for a few hours, especially during our rush hour here in the village where when these kids are coming up, or people are flying down our roads and people are trying to get home and walk the dog at night. But, and I'm not sure how the leadership structure is with the sheriff's department right now, because we got no captains, but we need to get somehow communicate to them that, we need to see their presence.
Essentially concentrate their efforts on
village
the
roads.
rural roads, the village roads, and not the Highway 83, Highway 50, and Highway 50.
Correct.
But there are other regional or district sheriff's deputies patrol those areas. The one we pay for specifically is Paddock Lake, and step up. The only way this gets done, and I think we're all on the same page. Certainly, traffic control devices might help. I don't think they would. I strongly believe traffic control devices are a hindrance to law-abiding citizens. And what they do is they roll through stop signs, they speed up to the next one, roll through that one. Stop signs are why we have this problem, not specifically because that's my opinion. But I think the thing that needs to happen is that we need to literally tell the sheriff's department, you need to start writing citations, not just enforcement. Write citations for speeding in the village and let the courts handle the.
Exactly.
And the only way the public knows that there's enforcement being done is with citations being issued. We're not looking for quotas. We're not looking for revenue. We've tried every other means of enforcement or control, traffic control, or presence of law enforcement. They have to start making some citations. Period. That's the only way that this is going to change. Only way.
And I think the streets that Trustee Garland spoke about, I think some of those streets should be issued to the sheriff's department, say, hey, look, we're having a little problem here. We need some more patrol in that area.
And that's huge.
Then switch it.
Absolutely, that's huge. Trustee Garland's come up with this. Without these streets, there could be a how do you say, misdeployment. They may be in the wrong area while speeding's going on right now. And if they're not familiar with these streets, speeding that is occurring. So, yeah, I think that it can be done. I think it can easily be done. But I just want to say this, so that everybody hears this. It's in the minutes. There will be citations written if we ask them to. So when public comes to any of you and says, hey, I've been speeding down this road, say that. But I've been driving down this road for years and I've never got a citation. How come all of a sudden I'm getting citations? My kid got a citation. My neighbor got a citation. That's the other hand here. That's the other side of what you're asking for. So make sure everybody knows that.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. So like on 61st Street from 246 to 241st is a wide open spread. There's no stop signs in the middle of it. I mean, I've seen cars go past my house on that stretch of road at 45 miles an hour, I'm sure. And there's kids all over the place. If my kid gets hit, that's going to be the last of that person driving that car. So, even if dropping the speed limit down to 15 miles an hour, that's going to definitely help.
Sure,
You drop the speed limit down from 60 to 55 on Highway 50 or something like that. Yeah, they're going to go 55, or it's set at 55, but they're only going to go 60. If you drop it down to 15 and they only go 20, that's a significant difference. So if it's 25, they're going to go 30 or 35. That's just what they're, I guess, in their brain. That's what they're going off. You have that everywhere. You're not going to stop everybody from speeding. You're not going to stop everybody from going stop signs. But something's got to happen. Something. I know there was a kid hit off of the west side of the double lanes, not that, a couple, 3-4 years ago.
That was a whole different.
Either way, there was a kid that was hit, and we can't have that. Everybody in this room has got some kind of family or lives in Paddock Lake, and 15 miles an hour is, to me, on a road with all these kids, is even too fast. So I don't know if putting up stop signs,
I even told Scott Garland that I'll pay for the stop signs on my street. I know he said it can't be done, but it's out there. There's other people that are on that same stretch of road that would be glad to pay for stop signs. I've already heard that. So, the cops, I know that's maybe a little bit of the issue. We need to get more of them out in Paddock Lake. You know, in the busy hours of the day, which is in the morning, kids are going to school, you know, adults and people are going to work. People are gonna be late to work. During the day, you got UPS drivers, FedEx drivers, Amazon drivers.
They're the ones that I.
Go like crazy.
They're nuts.
You know, going all over. Even if they're driving around during the day, making a loop, they need to be pulled over too. It's not just 61st Street, it's everywhere. 236, the double lanes, it's ridiculous. So I'm just one person, but I think if even families talk to families talk to their kids, families talk to, you know, their friends that come over or whatever, and just tell everybody to slow down. I don't know if we can pull something like that, or just, you know, just everybody talk to everybody, that something needs to happen. If a kid gets hit, it's gonna hurt the whole community. So.
Can I just make a comment about the statement about no stop signs from, it's right, there are no stop signs going east to west. But when the study was done, the stop signs coming from the north to south were put in for a reason. If the board is inclined to put four-way stops in, I will find a way to meet that warrant. Because we have to follow a warrant. It's not just, let's put a stop sign in. There has to be cause and purpose and list so that we can defend ourselves if something does happen. That stop sign is legally or improperly posted stop sign. We'll find a way to make that happen if the board is inclined to do it. We put a stop sign on every corner, if that's what you want. I think it's the wrong way. I like the idea of 15 miles an hour in certain areas. The collector streets should remain 25, the rural streets should be 15. And I believe that we demand of the sheriff's department to get many more traffic stops, beginning to stop somebody. And judge this through the summer and come back to the board in the fall with the revised actions for the sheriff's department.
I'd offer the suggestion. I live on 238 around my old park, that's the boat launch. That's 15 miles an hour. Nobody goes 15 miles an hour. So I don't know if the reduction of speed limit is going to make a bigger difference on speed. I think radar guns and citations will help make a difference, or the deployment of the trailer that displays the speed.
When we talk to the sheriff's department, they're going to deploy theirs, we're going to deploy ours. We're also going to put out those strike or not strikes, air hoses so we can get data. Turn that over to the sheriff's department for.
Have we ever considered speed bumps?
Cannot do it. Cannot put them in this. Because if somebody hits one with a motorcycle or a car and gets in an accident, it's a public road, speed bumps are not, the speed bumps you see in areas throughout the region, they're on private roads, they're not on public roads.
Plus, it would create a real treat in the winter.
I really
We're trying to plow. Anyhow, I gotta share some comments because I'm forgetting what I had to comment on. First of all, the trustee sponsor's concern. And this is a broken record. We've talked about this time and time again. One thing that's never changed, or it has good days or good peaks, and then it all of a sudden wavers off, is speeding in the village. I say it's because the roads are too damn good. That's why they go too but anyhow, is the board will call that sometime. When I was doing police and fire, I gave a ratio to citations written on Highway 50 as an aggregate to citations written. And the point of that was, and it sunk in I think with the sheriff's department is you're concentrating on the easy picking. Highway 50 is easy picking. You're concentrating too much on Highway 50. I wish I had a number of how many times I've emphasized it. The residents of Paddock Lake pay for a police patrol. You have to be on our village roads where they see you. That's the important thing. They're paying for you. They want to see you. Regarding the speed limit, you know, it's the world we live in. I hate to say it, but I honestly think speed limits are just, they register with people as a suggestion. And while I'm capable of driving faster and controlling my car, so therefore I can't, which is ridiculous, but, you know, I think people are more inclined with what's on the phone than what's in front of the windshield. I have to agree with Mr. Borman. Lowering the speed limits, it's a great visual gesture, but it ain't, in the long run, all it's going to do is cost you a ton of money to change all the signs. It's not going to solve the problem. What will make a dent in the problem is that the sheriff's department does have a directive that if you're caught speeding, and I don't know what, I want to say the grace period is 8 miles an hour. I don't, I mean, I know you got to make a variation for speedometers and stuff. I don't know where the exact cutoff is. I'm not asking for comment. I don't know where it is. So there, what I'm getting at is there's some give there. But what really has to be deployed here is that we need to show force in the fact that we mean business when it comes to speeding in our village. That they do get issued citations if they're speeding. Now, what that speeding qualifies as on a 25-mile-an-hour road, if it means over 30, you know, then it means over 30. So I think that's the way to address it. The fact that Trustee Garland is given certain areas that the speeding is. I can confirm the 61st Street. I'm 2 houses removed from there. I see them coming by, and on some occasions, I do call the sheriff's department and say, this is what you're looking for, make your own case. But, and I will tell you that some of those speeders, more often than I would like to say, are brown trucks, which obviously have X amount of packages to get delivered in 12 hours, and they're going to do it from hell or high water. So, and I don't think the comment in the room was, well, they should be cited too. Absolutely. They're not obsolete from our village ordinances. So I think a couple things is, one, the directive does get given to the sheriff's department that, you know, we take speeding very seriously around here. It's been a long-term concern, and we want to minimize it as much as we can, given the fact, you know, we do have one officer. I can tell you that the officer that's available in the morning, he does drive around the village. He does sit in the areas that, you know, typically people tend to do rolling stops on. So he's actively trying to weed these people out, but through facts, you know, the sheriff's department can only do as good as the facts we provide them. So as to what Mr. Papanda said, where we use the assets we have available to our traffic trailer. If the sheriff's department can get their traffic trailer, I mean, that's, you know, who's better than one. But putting down our register hoses where we can collect data and verify, are these people truly speeding, or is it just a visual? And I'm not, again, I agree with the 61st Street. So I think through a lot of different sources that we have at our fingertips, we can get a control on this. And you know, again, this is a broken record. This just keeps coming back, that they're speeding in the village. I will tell everybody, one thing that does work. And I'm not gonna use I can tell you my basketball thing, but I dare, that trick does work, but, is vehicle, when you park a vehicle on the road, they do slow down. Because now they got an obstacle. I mean, what's the whole concept of speeding? I can see everything. What's the whole concept of a rolling? Your stop sign, why do they roll past it? What are they, they can see everything. They can see traffic coming from the left. They know that traffic from the right is a matter of 4 driveways. So, the chances of traffic coming that way are minuscule. So it's because they have this wide vision, that's what creates these rolling stops. That's what creates the speeding and the grip. Where was I going with this? Oh, so if you've got a car that you can park in the street, they will slow down. It does work. I emphasize
President Burns, that leads to, as we redo roads, not just repave, as we do some of these roads, like 61st Street, I agree with you. 61st Street, way over. 248, 236. If we were to, when we rebuild these roads for storm sewer and the like, is that we put traffic calming devices in. So in other words, something that causes you to do this as you're driving. Roundabouts are perfect, but I know it's never come. But a traffic calming.
We don't have the right of way.
No. A traffic calming, whether it be an island, those are the best things for controlling erratic driving and speed. Someday we'll get to that. I really wish you would tell us about your.
Well, they're nothing more than essentially what I'm saying. They're obstacles. They're obstacles.
President Burns, we would like to hear about.
All right, so here's a surefire way, because when I moved into the neighborhood 26 years ago, I had, and this is on 247, which is a hill. Now, granted, a hill, people are, just nature of going downhill, you're going to go faster. Gravity does work. Is that there were people just hauling butt down that hill or going up the hill. I mean, granted, there's a stop sign at 247 to 61st. So I kind of, this is why I hate to say it, because I took matters into my own hands. And when I heard somebody coming down the road fast, I kicked the basketball down the driveway. Everybody stopped because they didn't want to hit the basketball. And then when they look at you, go, oh well, sorry. So I didn't want to tell that story, but Tim thought it was.
I think we can get to satisfying the residents, and I will talk with supervision from the sheriff's department and express your concerns. And with your permission, I would once and for all like to lay down the law and say, this isn't, they're not kids. This has to be done. There has to be more traffic enforcement. There's no stopping, speeding, and that goes across the board. That would be anything that's happening on the road. So all we're hearing about is speeding and stop signs. We hear as staff, we hear things like all-terrain vehicles, dirt bikes, mini bikes, electric scooters, go-karts, things of that nature that people are calling and complaining about that they're seeing. We're going to tell the sheriff's department, you can't be selective. You can't just be speeding and rolling stops. If you see a violation, write a citation.
Exactly. I would ask that you mention it to the sheriff's department. This winter, I drove Jake to Central every morning, and they taken the left out of the right in, right out.
I seen a state trooper stop somebody the other day. You know how much that is under the state
It was ridiculous. And I told her, I said, one of these mornings, I'm just gonna get up and sit and watch it. And I know Trustee Spencer mentioned it a year or two ago. And, you know, now that the weather is warm and she's walking back to school, I have to check her location every
Well,
day.
there's an issue that needs to be explained, that we had an issue.
Right.
And there was a lot of vehicles that would come, they're supposed to turn right, there's a pork chop there.
Yeah.
And they start the motion, maneuver, and then they turn and go back to the west. It was so rampant that we had to have the sheriff's department concentrate their efforts on it. In doing so, what happens while the sheriff's department concentrates their efforts there in the morning and the evening?
Right.
They're not out on the municipal roads. So really, we need to get the sheriff's department with their we talked about it, our trustee session, we talked about, what's the resource officer? Let them deal with that in that area for the school, let the district officers deal with Highway 50, K and 83. And our officer that President Burns had indicated, we are paying for, needs to do enforcement on all law breaking activities in the village of Paddock Lake. Is that agreed? I mean, that's what the director is kind of going to be summarized that. But is that trustees kind of looking at all in and hoping I get a yes or a shake of the head?
Okay. Are we adjust this to the point we're going to adjust it?
I think we report back to you every month and tell the snowfalls and show you how serious this can be and how this can be corrected.
Yeah, well, you'll see the amount of tickets that hopefully they start writing.
Well, and that's one of the other things is I'd like to have more information from the sheriff's department of the citations that are issued so that we can compare to the court, because it's a two-way street. It's not just the sheriff's department. More than that. There's more players. There's the legislative group here that want this one. There's the enforcement, the sheriff's department, but also part of the sheriff's department is the court. And if the court's not going to prosecute citations that are brought forward, it kind of defeats the purpose. So we need to make sure that that's all reported back to you on a monthly basis. And we talked about that today, correct?
I was going to bring that up on your comments, but yeah, we have to discuss the judicial system. The administration of the school has brought it to my attention, and they're actually very upset about it. All of their truancy tickets are being dismissed, and they're not understanding why. They said they're not going to stop writing them, but every time they write a truancy ticket, it comes to court and the judge dismisses.
Okay, on that note, because it's not on the agenda, I don't want to sway from open meetings regulations. On that note, we could have that as an open discussion point for next month. So yes, you were right, and that would be a perfect time to bring it up as a comment. Maybe you can give a heads up to the judge that this is a concern that's going to be brought up. If he has any reportings or any statistics that he can provide us to either approve or disapprove.
I will be through with that.
Yeah, that's
It's on the agenda and the municipal judge is in comments.
Okay. All right, anything else on the ethics committee? No. All right.
So right on the corner.
I mean, getting nervous. All right. Health, welfare, and recycling, trustee Garland.
I am going to yield the floor to trustee Poole.
Trustee Poole, face mask, you had asked this to be on the agenda, so.
That's right. Thank you, President Burns, and thank you. Looking on the county website, Paddock Lake has 41% of the people vaccinated, and plus 9% of our residents have had the virus. So you add those two together, it's 50%. So the county health department, they're going for 75%, which is herd immunity, I understand. But at this point, with 50%, vaccinated, The seniors should be protected. They were the first ones to get the vaccine and they're the most vulnerable, as those below 55 already died. In cases, they're down 80% from the January 2021 highs. So I think we're at the point where we could talk about removing a mask mandate here in Paddock Lake. I mean, summer's here and cases should continue to decline. And vaccinations are still going on, of course. So I say, let's get this done so Central can have a graduation without masks possibly. I mean, that's up to the school.
And that's true. That's outside of our ability. That's up to the school board. Consequently, it's up to each individual business how they wish to address the mask issue. It's no longer mandated by state government, so it's up to each individual business to determine how masks are to be worn, if they're suggested, highly recommended, it's optional, whatever wording they want to use. I think what you're trying to key in on is masks within the village hall, right?
Yes. Relinquish back to Trustee Garland.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring it up that, we don't have an ordinance in the village for the entire village, it's just the hall. And it's just a rule for the hall.
It's a policy.
Yeah, it's a policy.
But that's what this is intending to address.
And I feel it, right? So, yeah, Jesse Spencer's correct. We have adopted a policy. I won't get into the whole details of it because it just infuriates me to even talk about it. But nonetheless, we adopted a policy regarding not only face masks, but social distancing and a plethora of all the other things that the CDC wished us to observe in the possibility of helping stop the spread of COVID. Now, Trustee Pool's absolutely correct. I've been watching the numbers through Westland. I've been watching the numbers, and really, as a percentage whole, I mean, we have, I think we're just barely approaching 10% of our population that's had, because your number's an aggregate, right? Yeah, it's an aggregate. So since March of 2020, I don't know, you know what the number is? I know that thing.
I never looked at it today.
207.
Yeah, that's.
275. Okay. Well, we have a little over 3,000 people. So do the math. So we're not even at that. So that in addition to the vaccine is out there. It's readily available. I mean, we've heard that, in fact, Central High School from noon to 6 had walk-ins. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say that if you haven't either started the vaccination process on a 2-shot or the 1 and done from Johnson & Johnson, you have your pick out there. So it's the fact of the matter is that we have to, as a society, we have to recognize that there is going to be a percentage of the population that will not get the vaccination and have no matter what it is. So, and my personal opinion of this whole thing is, me, myself, I'm vaccinated. So I think I'm vaccinated. Why the hell am I wearing this? Who am I protecting? I'm vaccinated. So really the people that are at risk are the people that have chosen, which I have to respect their choices. They're all adults. If they don't want to get vaccinated, then they don't get vaccinated. But they're the ones that take the risk of catching it, and then if they do, hope it isn't severe. So unfortunately, I'll try and keep my tangent short, but unfortunately, this is the way government tends to work. And that is, we want to force 80% of the people to change the way they do things to appease 20% of the population. When you ask me, it should be the other way around, you know, so, and that's what this mask thing is really turned into. So I personally, it is a policy. We did, it's nothing to make an amendment to the policy. I did ask county, Jen Friday, who's our health officer for the county. I did ask her a question. You know, what is the county's opinion? Consequently, what's the CDC's opinion of small gatherings of people as it relates to masks? And the answer I got back, well, if everybody's vaccinated, you don't need masks. Which, you know, would make sense to me. What are you solving? So I think we're at a point, not really, maybe not right tonight, but we're at a point where I think the danger has been minimized because the vaccines are readily available. And again, you know, if you haven't started the process of the vaccination, my guess is you never will. And that's just the way it is. You just have to respect other people's opinions that they don't want to get it. Okay, well, so be it. But for everybody else, it looks like we're going into surgery. You know, I think we're past that point where it's, you know, we can relax this. It's certainly in this building where we only have small groups to begin with. So, Scott, I know it's,
you know,
that's my.
Everybody knows my feelings about the masks and whatnot. So, I think we're.
What's your shirt say?
It says my mask is on the inside. It's called my immune system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough said. Okay.
You know my feelings.
Yes.
I think we're socially distanced here. It's everybody's personal opinion what they want to do. I've always felt as though if you want to wear the thing, wear the thing, but don't get on me because I choose not to. It's my prerogative. If I'm the one who's going to get then that's my choice. It shouldn't be anybody else's choice. And that's been my whole thing this whole time. Is just, you know, don't take that right away from me. And that's what's happened over the course of the last 12 months. You know, I sat here for 12 months and been a good soldier and warned the thing, but we're at a point now where I really don't think we need the mask personally. Been wearing it against my comfort level.
I just the Donald, I do have to say you have been a good soldier and warned them because we had a policy to wear them. So I do know your feeling, and you know, again, I have to respect both sides of the aisle. Not aisle. I didn't mean to say aisle. I have to respect both sides of the opinion of whether you wear it or don't wear it. You know, it is what it is. We're all adults here. I don't, you know, I agree with Trustee Poole that it can certainly be relaxed. If you want to come in the building and you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, then so be it. Nobody's going to take that right away from you. But to mandate it, I think we're at a point now with the vaccination efforts that it's not solving anything anymore. You know, it digressed to 8 months ago. Well, then I think we had a rational reason to say they're required. Now, with the vaccinations in full swing and having access to vaccination, I personally have no problem relaxing it. You know, the signs at, on the front of the door, you know, I don't think they should say mask required anymore. I think they should say, you know, if you feel comfortable, if your choice is to wear a mask, or wearing a mask is your choice. There you go.
You just say recommended, not required.
Now, if you say that and staff isn't wearing them, that could kick you. So, just, you know, mask is your option, but it's not required. So, anyway. Is there, well, this is your.
Oh, that.
All right, so.
Excuse me, President. Burke.
Yeah.
Before everyone's moving forward, everybody, all the trustees.
Well.
Give input.
Does anyone else have any? Trustee Walter?
I'm ready to take mine off.
I'm ready to take mine off right now. Right now.
It's your choice.
The only thing I would request is that we do the amendment to the policy, we adopt it next Wednesday, and we make it effective July 1st. Or I'm saying June 1st. What? Well, you know, I'm just trying to segment the whole thing. Let's face it, from the standpoint of the 11 people that are paid to be here, once next Wednesday is gone, he ain't gonna be there anyhow. So, who cares? Yeah,
It's
not the end of the world.
June 1st or effective immediately the night that it's voted on. We can all ceremoniously take off our mask.
Yeah, I've kind of got acclimated to everybody being spread out because I can see
I
everybody.
like this. I like
I
this.
can see everybody. Well, just, you know, we'll have to fill in this.
Yeah,
the
start putting
center
more
spot.
people in the audience.
But, no, I don't have any problem doing this. Now, keep in mind, on certain meetings, we're gonna have to bring it back to a half circle because, you know, we're gonna be full. Now, Lake District meeting comes right to the end and maybe start board of review. But, so, okay, I mean, is there, not to steal your thunder.
Nope.
Is there anything else
Nothing else from me.
on that?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Building and grounds?
I have nothing.
Tree commission, I'm pro temping for that, and I got nothing, other than we planted a tree, it's all front.
Before you move on, President Bruce, there are trees, we've gotten the saplings in, they're out in the foyer. They're intended for our residents or anyone that lives in the village. Before you leave tonight, if you want to walk out there, we can help you out with taking some home. Please plant them, get them to grow, many choices. And then the trustees, if you would assist the village, just getting them out there, maybe you come and package them up and take them to your neighbors. People coming into the village, we're going to try to give them to us as obviously residents, as they come in to pay utility bills and so forth. 225 different trees out there, and some of them are pretty nice trees and grow fast. They're all selected for fast growth. I'm sorry?
Your orthone trees?
No, they're not orthone trees.
Okay. Administrative report?
Just to let the trustees know that at 6:45 next Monday, or not, sorry, next Wednesday, for our village board meeting, we'll have a Lake District meeting to approve an invoice. And also on the agenda for next week will be the TID amendment. It wasn't in your packets because it hadn't gone through the planning commission yet, which happened on Monday. So you'll have that documentation by this weekend or next week. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. And on that TID, basically, you're just, we're introducing a new property into TID number 2. And it's gone through a joint board of review for that. There's a lot of checks that have to happen for this to happen. So next Wednesday will be the village board's chance to chime in on it. And then I believe then it goes to the state of Wisconsin.
Goes back to the. Goes to
Then
the
it
joint board
goes, and then it
review
goes
again.
to the state, they gotta approve it.
Somehow the joint board reviews it one more
One
time.
more. Well, they got introduced to it. They have to actually vote on it.
Correct.
Yeah. So we'll go back to that, and then I think. Yeah, there's a lot of hands in that. Attorney's report,
Nothing.
thank you. Inputs and concerns,
I have a
yes, ma'am.
concern. Tim knows probably what I'm going to talk about. I live on 69th Street and we have 2 neighbors on the same street who have propane signage on their property. I have nothing against First Amendment rights. And of course, I'm all about fly your flag, fly any flag you want, but it shouldn't have FUC flag on. And it's very upsetting to me, if you can see. And I have to look at it every day, twice a day at least. And I talked to all my neighbors. I have not found one who isn't supportive. Everybody is appalled by it. Everybody, no matter what your politics are. I'd like to please get something done with this. It's denigrating our community. It's bad for our property values. You cannot have huge flags saying FUCK. You just cannot have it. I'm very upset about it.
You know what, I'm so glad you came tonight. I'm so glad you provided comment, because once we're done here, we are going into closed session for that very something.
Correct. And I
have to
you can all
apologize.
understand what it's like to live across the street.
Oh, believe me,
Of course
I feel, I really do. I don't think
I just
that.
invested all of my savings to build a house here. And I have to look at this.
Right.
You know, I mean, not all my savings obviously, but a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted this to be where I retired. And I just can't stand looking at this every day.
Right.
Not what I had in mind.
If that was in the sales brochure, you probably wouldn't have bought it.
I owned property up here for 26 years, so I'm very familiar with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the neighbors. But I've never seen this before. You know, this is taking it a little too far.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care about anything else underlined, anything else, there's no profanity, please.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm glad you shared your comments with the board. We're gonna go into closed session after the conclusion of this meeting. That's the very topic that we actually have new information on. I mean, we have actively been working on this for what, 2 months? Well, since the infraction started. Yeah,
One
since
of
the
them has been
infraction.
moved a little bit, it's a little less visible, but it's still.
Yeah. Okay. Any other inputs and concerns from the floor, from the board? I just want to say, did everybody get the map on the road closures for Highway 50? It's gonna be, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly.
That's one of 3. When that one's done, the other one will start.
But unfortunately, it has to be done. It's part one of many parts to re-improving that roadway through the village. So,
Gary, you said, we don't know what you're talking about.
Highway 50,
Yeah, we know Highway 50.
the roadway project, they're putting in a gas line.
But I didn't get that.
That, everybody
Well,
was copied on it, and I don't know.
That's,
Oh, see, I didn't see it yet.
Yeah.
that's why.
That's why I don't know what you're talking about.
In case anybody wants to see.
So if you notice,
Thank you.
there's barrels out on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
That is to close the north lane.
Oh, okay.
The outer lane, yeah, right, the outer lane of the westbound route, westbound lane. Monday, Monday, in earnest, yeah, it's gonna be a big project. So they're replacing the 6-inch bar? Big, it's a big, it's a 60-pound gas, thing, which is a very big high pressure main. But they're going from 6-inch to 8-inch, and they're redoing it all the way through the one side of town to the other. And that's in preparation for the future reconstruction of Highway 50. Yeah, get it deeper so that storm surge. When that's done, then 2 lanes, one in each direction, will be closed while we move the utility, the overhead utility, from one side of the road to the other. And when that's done, then we have, working with the DOT, we have some improvements that we have to make in preparation for the DOT. And then the DOT will start their road construction in 2022 or 2023.
So it's not how many orange cones can we put in one compressed area? And that's the answer out there. Yeah, it's gonna be, I would say Highway 60 is gonna turn into a new road.
It is very busy now.
It's bad the way it is. It's bad the way it is. I'm glad they held off with doing improvements on 60. It's gonna be really bad after Highway 50 finally has all the work done. Finally next year, when this stuff does the full improvement on the road. Okay.
President Murray?
Yes.
I was contacted by a resident that wanted to have an issue that he has, been going on, he's been for like 10 years. To get his issue on the agenda. And I emailed Michelle and she said that he had to request it himself. I believe he is here. And,
okay.
Does he have to?
Well, what, Mr. Owner, what's the?
Well, I got water flowing in my ditch that's been going on for over a year now. It wouldn't even cover up this, it was running so much this winter, I had running water and no snow. So, and up the road, there is no water coming down. We're in a drought right now. It's still running. I can't even mow my grass down in that ditch. And I asked the administrator, Mr. Banner, to help me out somehow, and he just refused to do it.
Well, all right. Commissioner Panda and I have had a conversation on this.
And there's chlorine in that water.
There is chlorine in the water.
Okay, so it's treated water.
Municipal water, it's not coming from our main, it's coming from his neighbor's lateral, from the shut off, we assume from the shut off up to his house, or it could be coming from underneath his foundation. We've attempted to find it by way of, as Dr. Ellis indicated, by taking water samples to determine that it was chlorinated water, so there's residual chlorine. He's absolutely right. And he came to me quite a while ago. If we can't find it, we can't fix it. We can't dig up the entire yard, the ditch line, and the people's yards to find something. We don't know where it's at.
Well, we're paying money for that water getting clean. Does that make any sense? It's village water. We're complaining about the village water bills, and here we are throwing it down the drain, basically.
Well, it's
into my
Very small
yard.
amount of water in the scope of our loss of water. If we knew where it was at, we would have it fixed. I would force the property owner to fix it or fix it ourselves. We found one similar to this at the corner of 65th and 238, and it took quite a while for us to find where it was coming from because it wasn't our main, it wasn't our service line, it was property owner service line. And it took us a while to get cooperation from the property owner to pinpoint that. It's very intrusive to find where these leaks are coming from when it's on their own property. I worked with the neighbor, his neighbor that he's talking about, and I think we agree that it's not coming from the top of the hill. It's not coming from your house, it's coming from the house next door to you.
Nothing in my yard.
So he's agreeing with me that that is the case. We cannot find it. If we cannot find it, we can't fix it. We can't force somebody to fix something we can't find.
Well, in trying to ease the situation.
Well, I appreciate if they just dig a little trench, let the water flow. I've dug a trench north of or south of my driveway. And then at least they get channel it down so I can mow and make it look like that.
We can do that. Until we can find this location, we can do that. We have a agency coming out that is supposedly the best water leak detection system. In fact, Baxter and Woodman had used them once before. We're having them come out and use that one and 3 others that are very small leaks to attempt to find where it's at. Once we know where it's at, either we'll fix it if it's ours, or if it's the neighboring property owner, we'll give them a time in which to fix and make the necessary repair. So, Trustee Brickner and the resident are absolutely right. We've been aware of it. We're not trying to shun the responsibility. We just can't fix something. Hopefully, we understand.
Trying to get it brought to somebody's attention. At least give me a ditch.
This is the first I'm hearing that the ditch would only satisfy. We'll do that.
I'd be happy with a little ditch. I'm sure the neighbors south of, or north of me would be happy.
We can take care of that while we're hoping to find an illicit leak.
But we have determined the illicit leak is in the homeowner's lateral.
Nothing remaining. Well, we've tested
So
that.
the process of elimination,
Right.
it's in their,
And
it's
there's
in their lateral or it's sourcing from the home.
There's a way to do that because our main there is duct out iron. And it could be, you had a leak detection system come out and we're testing the one at 65th and 238. Tested because this has been going on for a long time. Tested in that area and they hooked to the hydrant, or I'm sorry, the valves, and the listing device that they used. And there wasn't a leak in our main. And not only that, if there's a leak in the main under that pressure, you'll see water, substantial amount of water, substantial. Kind of like a creek coming out of the ground. This is likely a pinhole in his lateral underneath his footing. That's what we believe it to be, but you can't disrupt this man's yard or
his driveway.
Is that what you think it is, a driveway?
It's in the driveway. The shutoff is in that.
Oh, the shutoff is right.
It's in that concrete driveway.
The shutoff is there, but from the shutoff to and into the gentleman's house is a water line that's privately owned by the property.
And the owners, I mean, he's been cooperative through the process, right?
To some extent, less digging anything up.
Well, yeah, but I mean that he's aware that
He's
first
aware
of
that
all,
we
first of
have-
all, the issue is there. I mean,
Yes.
if you never realize there's a problem, it's not going. So he realizes that there is a problem. The loss of water is like a given.
Well, it's pre-metered, so it's not like he's getting a higher water bill. And we lose, just from the system that we have, we can lose up to 5% of our annual water from various things, flushing hydrants, small leaks throughout the system. It's not uncommon to lose water in municipal water, especially in municipal water system from 1956. So there is, but it's not being metered, it's before his meter. Because we monitored that as well. It was a point to look at to see if there's water consumption since Colonel Bill lived there, if the water was higher, or if any of them.
That's whose house we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right, well, in trying to he's the concern, and Mr. Underhill is alleviating the water in his property by ditching it. Is it gonna create a water problem at somebody else's property?
I don't believe so.
Well, then, seems like we have an answer. It's a short-term answer until we can locate what the problem.
The guy north of me, he's kind of dug his out already.
Okay, that's not gonna be a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Mike, I'm surprised you didn't come to me then.
Well,
All right. Any other inputs and concerns? Okay, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? Second by Trustee Spencer. All those in favor? Okay. Thank you all again. Good meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out of here at 9 o'clock.
Whatever, Monday. I haven't seen you forever.
I gotta get going.
All right, we'll see ya. You need help? Huh? Do you need help?
No, I'm just gonna shut it.
Yeah. Was that in relation to you?
Well, and that's the finish, the painting and
The only one feeling like that?
What? President Burns,
Yeah.
did you adjourn?
Yeah. What?
Closed session?
I was straight in the close. Yeah, she'll get that. All right. Can we take a recess before we go into closed session? Okay. We're at recess. Yeah, can I get up for a second? Reminds me of meetings of yours. Yes. That's why this, even though I keep wearing it,
Friday. No, I know, I really. So we'll talk to the office. And find out what we can do to assist you.
And then you'll get an applicant.
Come in and meet with us.
You'll get applicants, paperwork. They'll always have a background check.
Your attorney. Your attorney.
I got more of that came from.
Through that. I think we'll have.
All right. Oh, okay. I don't know if she's still here.
Yeah.
Say she was.
Marlon, still there? Marlon went home.
I think Marlo's on.
What?
She said, I'm getting out of here now.
Where she walked.
Yeah.
We have to? Oh, I thought you said you
You
had
know what I mean, you know what? I see more of those things on the ground than
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else, yeah.
Yeah.
How sanitary is that?
I don't know,
Don't get me.
What's the temperature in this house?
I don't know. Yeah, were you looking for a blank application?
You have a hot flash? It's like 3 degrees in
I
here.
have a copy of your application.
It's 3 degrees in
I
here.
don't know, is that one?
Why don't you call Michelle tomorrow, we'll group either tomorrow or Friday and give you about 15-20 minutes to discuss what is on the application. We won't give legal advice, but we'll just walk you through the application. Okay, thank you. What I'm telling you. Because now we're at the crossroads that, and it can't go any further, and maybe what we do is we tell her to contact your attorney.
Hi, Marla.
Bye, Marla. Yeah, ditto.
It's not funny.
Very fun.